Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to the Live Fully Now podcast with me, your host, Shannon Ryan. I'm so excited to be sharing with you today my special friend, Mel M. Rubin. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for calling me on. I really appreciate it. I'm excited for the
Yes.
conversation.
Yeah, I'm so excited to see where our conversation goes, to see what topics come to the surface and what magic we co-create.
Yeah, me too.
So, before we get started, I'd love to know what is lighting you up most in this season of your life.
The creation of the new earth, if I'm honest with
Mhm.
you. I'm very hopeful for the future right now. I've been on my journey for 6 years. Before I started my journey, I was living very unconsciously, as the majority of the populace are. And throughout the 6 years of me working on myself, but also observing the industry that I'm in, the internet, that whole online realm, and also just people and the conversations that I've had, I've noticed a huge shift in consciousness, specifically over the last year. So it makes me very hopeful for the future and the creation of a better future for not only ourselves, but for our family, for our children, and ultimately the world.
Love that. Can you explain a little bit more when you say a new earth for the listeners? For some people who may not really understand or know what that means or what that entails, what does that look like to you? What is your vision when it comes to the new earth, and what does that look like?
Yeah, for sure. So the new Earth isn't a whole other planet. We're not going to fly off this planet and go to a new planet. We're essentially going to heal the planet and make it a better place for all of us to live. So the old Earth is the old way of being and doing. It's the systematic way of being and doing, whereby we are not connected to ourselves. We're not connected to our people on a very deep and nurturing level that we require as humans to really live in our full health capacity as well as the happiness capacity. And it worked for a while for us to get out of the mud that we were in through the industrialization times and all of that good stuff. But then as we are growing and evolving as a human consciousness, it's just not working now. And this is why there are so many people that are depressed, that are anxious, that are angry, that are escaping through various different methods. So the creation of the new earth is essentially coming back to our roots, coming back to the land, coming back to ourselves, coming back to spirit, which is essentially what our ancestors were doing before the whole revolution of industrialization happened. And it's very amazing what we've achieved as a collective in respects to the way that we now live and the technology that we have, but we've gone too far away from what really matters. So essentially, the creation of the new earth is coming back to what really matters and merging what we've created in the old earth with the ancestral way of being in the land and ourselves and our spirit. And a big part of that as well is also coming back to community and living as tribe and really appreciating ourselves for our own beauty and brilliance and medicine and magic. But with that being said, appreciating others in their beauty and their brilliance and their medicine and their magic. So, really breaking the boxes down that we have been trained to fit in throughout our culture and society, and really coming back home to ourselves and why we came to this planet and what we get to do as an individual to make this world a better place in whatever way we came to do it. So myself personally, I'm here for humanity more so, through my voice and sharing in respects to bringing people back to their power. But then there's other people that are more here for the planet. They're really like, and don't get me wrong, I'm passionate about the planet and about the animals, and I am going to give back in that way. but my medicine and magic is to do with the people and illuminating that power, whereas some are more so for the planet, some are more so for the sea, the ocean, some are more so for the animals, some are more so for the plants. So it's really coming back home to that, learning how to break away from the system so we have that time freedom and that financial freedom to be able to pursue our passions and purpose, our beauty and brilliance, our medicine and magic, so we can create a better future. Yeah, that's it.
It's so simple, just like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love what you said, and that's what's so amazing is that when everyone taps into their own unique medicine and magic, we all have our own unique codes. We all have a reason why we're here. We all have a specific dharma, a specific blueprint. And when each of us steps into our power, steps into alignment with our truth, with our purpose, with our passion, we're all going to show up and be able to collectively share these gifts and co-create a new earth together. So it's not about us being the individual savior and needing to save the earth, the people, the trees, the animals. You know, I used to think that about myself, like I want to help everything and everyone, but really honing in on what the specific medicine and magic is and what my unique gifts are has been so powerful because I don't need to do it all. And there's other people that are going to do that part. And when we come together, we're going to rise together in all of our brilliance and all of our unique medicine and magic. And I just can't wait. It's so exciting.
Definitely. And it's really all about like finding what sets your soul on
Mm.
fire and finding something that you would do without getting paid. And this is where our medicine and magic is, and like finding that thing that just like really fills our body. And you know what, like although like I'm passionate about the planet, I'm passionate about the animals, I'm and a range of different things. However, that there's these certain aspects of it where I haven't necessarily got the patience, I haven't necessarily got that the codes within me, like you said, to be at the forefront of that. However, I'm building the wealth so I can donate, so I can give. And we get to do that through a range of different like systems and opportunities that are now available to us, which is really beautiful. Like we're really fortunate to live in this day and age in which we are able to build wealth and to build time freedom so much more easier than what our ancestors were able to do. And it's not necessarily easy, but it's a lot easier than what it was to get to where we want to go. And the majority of the time, the main work is the internal work for us to gain the success it is that we wish to gain. So that's my forefront, that's my codes, because I'm very good at that. But the beauty of it is really like learning how to find your codes and what's right for you. And we do that by really following what it is that we love. And eventually we will come across, okay, well, yeah, this is me. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life or this season of my life. And it's definitely a very beautiful journey, considering we in the Western world specifically have been trained to fit in these box of academia and go to work, go to college, go to university, get a good job, like for the money. And like, you know, we trade our time for money, and we typically sell our soul for a salary. And we get to a point where it's like, I'm not actually happy. Like from the outside in, it looks like I'm happy because I've got all of these material stuff, but I'm not. I'm depressed. I'm wasting my life away wishing for the weekends, wishing for the next vacation, and I'm fueling my body with all of the shit, and I'm all of these self-sabotaging habits where it's like, that's not why we came to this planet. Like we came to this planet to live in our bliss. We came to this planet to be excited every day, to be in joy. And we get to go back to that. And that's also a part of the new earth and the creation of the new earth, is really living in our bliss and our magic every day.
I love that. I would love for you to share a little bit more about your story. Like, what got you to being the woman that you are today? What is a little bit about your healing journey? When did it start? What have been some of your biggest teachers, biggest struggles, biggest pains?
Oh gosh. Okay, where do I start? So I I've all like I have a very nurturing family. I was always very provided for. I never wanted for nothing. And I was supported in respects to my outward expression. However, I'm very heart-centered and I have a very unique view of the world. I'm a 5-1 reflector, so 1.5% of humanity. So that was something that my family got to navigate without even knowing what that was like. So I didn't necessarily get what I needed as the being that I am in respects to the depth and the communication and the love. So that was very much repressed growing up, not through fault of my family, because they're absolutely amazing. It just is what it is. And I've always had that entrepreneurial bone in my body. My parents, like, they had their own businesses. So from around 10, I chose to work, and I asked my parents. My mum had a costume shop, my dad had a bakery, so I would work with them at the weekend. And I always wanted to have my own thing. I just didn't know what I wanted. And I ended up getting stuck in the system from school. I didn't finish college. I went from school to college. I didn't finish college because I just wasn't interested in learning what they wanted me to learn. Although I got to choose my subjects in college about. So I ended up dropping out of college after year one and going straight into work because I like to learn experientially, and I like to work and learn and do that stuff. So I ended up getting into a job which subsequently led me to another job, which subsequently led me to working in the corporate banking industry from 18 years old. And I went into the corporate banking industry because it was safe. I worked for a flagship bank, a very well-known bank in the UK, and I was working my way up. So I was in the financial services industry for around 8.5 years in total. And throughout that period, and from about the age of 16, I was in an array of toxic relationships. I was looking for love in all of the wrong places and seeking the love that I always needed and wanted that I wasn't necessarily getting from my family. So I was searching for love in all of the wrong places, which led me to toxic, possessive, emotionally abusive men, unhealed men, because I was a wounded, I had that wound in me, so we attract what we are. So I was going through that. And I got into a relationship when I was 21. I was with him for 4.5 years. We got engaged, we lived together, and that got very toxic. We was in the honeymoon period for about 2 years, and then after that it just went downhill. He was an addict, and it just wasn't a great lifestyle. So yeah, it got to the point for me where I exited the relationship, and when I exited the relationship, I was in a very low point in every way: mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, spiritually. We accumulated a lot of debt together in my name, so I was left in £32,000 worth of debt, where he owed me half, but he fell off the face of the earth. And I calculated that if I didn't make a change, I would be in debt for the next 44 years, and I didn't want that. So I was putting out all of these signals unknowingly to the universe, and I was still very much living unconsciously at that time when I exited that relationship. I was in a very low space, like I said, and I was abusing myself and abusing my body, my mind, my soul in every which way. I was very toxic. I wasn't an angel myself, but I did want better. And I've always had that positive outlook on life and always looked at the silver lining, should we say. And it's because of the fact that I'm a reflector. When I'm surrounded by toxic people, naturally that affects me a lot more than what it would affect someone who's completely fixed in their chart, for
Yeah.
instance. So the people around me were really affecting me. And yeah, I was unknowingly putting out those calls, those desires to the universe that I wanted to make a change. And then in July 2017, I was drinking that night. Like, it got to a point where I would drink a bottle of wine a night. Like, it got that bad. At weekends, I would start on a Friday and not finish until the Monday. When it came to my drink and drug binges, I literally wouldn't sleep all weekend, filling my body with all of the shit, eating all of the shit. I was 3 dress sizes bigger as well than what I am now. I was in a really low space. And then it was July the 7th, 2017. It's coming up to 6 years now. I was scrolling through Facebook and I came across this advert. And it was a very different world back then, 6 years ago. But the advert said, "Are you looking to radically transform your financial future?" And I remember the picture. It was a picture of 4 people at the edge of an infinity pool doing like the dab hands, but you could only see the behind of them. You couldn't see their faces. And I was like, yeah, like I've been left on the floor after this relationship. So I watched this. I watched this training. Had no idea what I was getting involved in, but I knew that I wanted the lifestyle that my previous mentor had. He was living free, like the money and all of that stuff. And I was 25 and a half. Like, I wanted my freedom. I'm a free spirit. I'm an Aquarius. So naturally, I just want to like flow and fly around and all of that good stuff. And also I have like 6 placements of Capricorn in my chart, all in-house too. So seeing the money, I was like, yes, this is going to give me the safety and the security. So I got involved, and that is what put me on my healing journey. So my then mentor said to me that if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, you must work on your mindset. So I was like, okay, I want to be successful. And the first 2 books that I read on my journey were The Magic and The Happy Pocket Full of Money, in conjunction with one another. And that put me on my mindset journey and my spiritual awakening, all at the same time as starting my business. So I started everything all at the same time. And it put me on this deep journey of inner transformation, inner healing. The company that I partnered with for my online business is centered around water technology, living water, which you're also involved in as well. This is how we met, so I'm very grateful for it. And drinking that water, like, healed me from the inside out. Like, my skin got better, my hair got better, I started losing weight, I got more energy. So then that put me on a path of like, okay, well, there's something to this. And I started to look into the food that I was consuming and started to become really mindful of the energetics of the food that I was consuming when it came to like meat and any kind of animal product. So I soon went pescatarian, and I was pescatarian for 1.5 years. And then after that, I found out how bad the dairy industry was. And being an aspiring mother, it just went against the whole of my morality in indirectly funding an industry that takes babies away from their mothers. I was like, no. And as soon as I heard about that, I just went straight cold turkey, went to vegan. It was a very easy switch for me. And since changing that consumption, it's really allowed me to land into my heart and my compassion even further, because the energy that I'm consuming is only energy from Mama Gaia. It's only energy from the land, and it's only ever good energy. So that really supported my rise in level of consciousness because of the energy that I was consuming, as well as the water. And I've since I started my online business journey, I've just continually been following my heart and doing the work and trusting my intuition. So things have just slotted into place. In 2020, I followed my intuition and my heart to come to Bali. So I came to Bali, and when I got to Bali, the borders shut 2 days after because of the global shit show that happened, and everyone left. So me being a reflector in this newfound energy, because I used to live in a block of flats in London, so I was surrounded by such generator energy, which was really good for my like work, go, but it wasn't necessarily my energy. So coming to Bali really allowed me to land into and ascend on my spiritual journey much faster than what I would have done in the UK, because there's so many different people and energies in there. And yeah, I've just been deepening into my journey and healing through a range of different modalities and self-reflection and really being as me. And when I got to Bali, I was still a girl, and that was 3 years into my journey. And now I'm officially a woman, because of really landing into myself and my strength and my surety and understanding my triggers and my emotions, and now responding to them rather than reacting, and also honoring my boundaries with people and choosing myself and what's good and right for me, rather than the FOMO from the egoic like fear. So it's really been a beautiful journey, and because of this journey, I landed into my purpose, my passion, my strength in respect to sharing this journey with others, to inspire them and show them that they can also lead themselves to what it is that they want. Like, I led myself through all of that, through the hardship, through the pain, followed my heart, went through this grief of letting go of like my old life to follow what was right for me. And it's not necessarily been easy, but choosing myself has been the most liberating thing that I've ever done, and really allowed me to build the strong and deep and nurturing relationships that I've always wanted, as well as strengthen the relationships with my family because of this work as well. So yeah, I share that. I share the good message. I share what I'm going through and all of that good stuff.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. I got full body chills hearing you talk, and just want to take a moment to just honor the amazing, inspirational, badass woman that you are that's sitting before me today. I'm so honored to be in your field, in your circle, and to see where our journeys continue to unfold together, because you are just such a light, such an inspiration.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I say this a lot, like, we shine a light on our darkness to find the color in our journey. And typically, because we haven't been taught to process our emotions, and because we've been unconsciously taught that our negative emotions and our darkness is bad, and like, because of that, we suppress it and we run away from it and we numb it with whatever external thing, like distraction, scrolling, drinking, taking drugs, sex, gambling, shopping, whatever that may be. And that's not what's creating the happiness and the health and the love and the depth in our relationships it is that we want. And I did this for up until probably about, I was 28, if I'm honest with you. So I started my journey 25 and a half, and it wasn't until I really got to Bali, if I'm honest, that, because I went through my Saturn return as well when I got to Bali too. So all of these lessons, and it wasn't until I was about 28 that I really started to look at my relationship with alcohol and the party and drugs and all of that. And a month ago, I've given up alcohol now. Like, it's out of my field now. It doesn't align with who I am and who I'm becoming. And it takes time. This journey takes time. And it's really important that we stop running away from ourselves, that we stop running away from our darkness, and that we shine a light on it and we run towards it and really understand the color that's in it. Because so many of us, myself included, I've worked through much of it now, but there's so much shame and guilt and bad feeling around our past and our story. And our story and our past is what must and gets to propel us towards our medicine and magic, right? But many people run away from it, and this is why they don't land into their medicine and magic, and this is why they stay stuck in a reality that's not meant for them. And it's not an easy journey. However, once we do that, it's very liberating, and this is when we land into our strength and surety, and this is when we start to attract our soul tribe, especially when we share our story. Like, the most healing thing that I've ever done is share my story. And unconsciously, I was doing this, didn't even plan to do it. And even though it's been scary and confronting sharing my truth, because I've been worried about what people would think about me and all of that stuff. Me sharing my truth has ultimately made space for the people that are meant for me come into my circle, because they've heard and resonated with that frequency. And the people that are not in my life anymore because I've shared my truth, they've vibrated out, and it's nothing to do with me and everything to do with where they're at. And there's no judgment for it. They served a purpose at a certain point in my life. But when it comes to me being true to myself and who I desire to be and what I desire to create, it requires letting go of certain aspects, which is fine. Like, change is the only constant in this reality. So it's really been learning, like, it's really been interesting navigating that and loving myself enough to stay true to myself. And this is what I'm passionate about in sharing, because we all get to have this feeling, and it takes bravery, it takes courageousness. However, why would you want to live life scared?
Yeah. I mean, I think that I love that you're bringing that up, but I have the feeling that so many people right now, even maybe people listening, are in this space of fear. You know, it's a very prevalent emotion and feeling that so many people deal with, myself included, not on a daily basis because I've done a lot of work around it. But how would you advise the listeners to step out of fear and into love?
Feel the fear and do it anyway. That's a very good book, and one that I read at the start of my journey. The fear is always going to be there. Like, even now I still get fear. It happens. It's an egoic response, and it's not necessarily bad, because our ego is there to protect us. So what we get to do is we get to learn how to befriend our ego, but also master our ego and not allow our ego to stay in the driver's seat. Like, we are in the driver's seat, our soul is in the driver's seat, which is essentially our heart, because our soul resides in our heart. So it's really coming back to, okay, well, what would love do right now?
Mm.
And not necessarily what would love do in respects to other people, but what would love do in respects to me and the choice that I choose to make right now. Because sometimes love is a gentle push to do the thing that's uncomfortable so you can grow. And the only way that we're going to grow is through the discomfort, is through the fear. So befriend the fear, feel the fear, like, and label the fear. I feel the fear. The fear's there, because then it makes it less scary, because you've given a name to the fear. Oh, hello, fear. How are you doing? I see you. Thank you for being here to protect me. But this is what my soul wants. And when we learn how to listen and connect to our soul, and when we continually choose to follow it, that's when the magic really happens in life. So feel the fear and focus on the magic, focus on what you want, focus on who it is you wish to become and what it is that you wish to create.
Yeah, I definitely resonate with that. And for me, a really good practice for dealing with my fear has been, like you said, to name it, to really, a lot of times our fears, our emotions just want to be seen, they want to be heard. So if we just take a look at them and sit with them and feel them and allow whatever wants to manifest in our body to come through and sit with it, give it compassion and let it pass. And I have noticed every time I do that, it just wants to be seen, wants to be heard, and then it just melts away. And it's just so much easier than we think it is. It really just requires presence and not having shame or guilt around the fact that we have these emotions and being honest and authentic to ourselves and our true feelings, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And it's all presence. I mean, we've been taught and trained to distract ourselves. We've got so many distractions around us, so it's really easy to distract ourselves, and it's also very easy to numb ourselves. But that's not what's going to bring us back and allow us to create the true happiness, the true health, and the depth it is that we want. And for us to create that, we first must create that within ourselves. And we create that within ourselves by doing the uncomfortable things, by doing the hard things, by facing our darkness, by overcoming our fear, and by strengthening the love that we have within ourselves. And when we're true to ourselves and when we do the hard things, we're like, oh wow, wasn't that bad? Oh, I'm pretty cool. And then that's when you start landing into the validation, because it's like, oh, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. Like, I'm actually pretty shit hot. And you land into that, which then magnetizes even better people to you, because you're radiating this confidence and this love for yourself through a sense of knowing, rather than a sense of arrogance, which is what a lot of people that are living in the old paradigm surface way of living are doing. They're like, oh yeah, I love myself, but it's more of an arrogance, egoic way rather than a powerful, inner knowing way.
Mhm. Yeah, it's more of a superficial exterior front rather than an internal soul, deep love and vibration for sure.
Yeah,
See that all the
yeah.
time as well. I'd love for you to speak a little bit about confidence because you are so confident, and I know that this always hasn't been the issue for you, or this you haven't always been this confident. So what tips would you give the listeners, or how did you get to the space that you're at today with this confidence, with this ability to speak your truth, speak your voice, to shine in your fullest expression? How did you get there?
I just did it, if I'm honest with you. And the way that we build confidence is through competence. So it's like, if you think about when you start a new job, like you start a new job, you're like, oh my God, I'm scared. I don't know what to do. And then you do it every day because you have to, because if you don't do it, you're not going to get paid. And then within 3 months to 6 months, it's like you know it off of the back of your hand. So it's essentially doing it. And when it came to my outward expression, for instance, I've always outwardly expressed myself, and I've always been different to the masses in that sense, and not conformed, and experimented with different styles and all of that stuff, because I've never wanted to be like anyone else. Like, who wants to be normal, right? But it was the inward expression that was repressed. So at first, when I started expressing myself online specifically, through building my business, and this was literally how I started expressing myself. I started building my own personal brand without even realizing, by sharing my journey and what I was learning and all of that stuff. That's when I started to build the confidence. I just did it. And like, I'd go live on my then Facebook page, and I would shake and I would quiver and I would be scared, and I'd get stuck in respects to my words because of my nervousness, but I still showed up every time, and I did things to support me in that respect. Like, I put notes around the camera so I wouldn't get nervous and go off on a tangent and forget where I was. And then I just kept doing it and doing it and doing it. And now I can just take a video and it's one take. There's no issue with that. But back then it was like, oh my gosh, Eric's in the room, by the way.
Yeah.
This happens. You can hear him. But yeah, so it's just a case of like, I just kept doing it. And I would ensure that, because it's been a journey, and specifically I've gone through a lot of lessons in respects to my communication, because I'm very direct, I'm very to the point, I say it how it is. I don't see the point in fluffing about. It is what it is, right? And I've had to learn how to communicate in a way where it lands effectively for the majority of people, because typically we're not taught how to communicate. So we learn how to communicate through what we experience. And because our parents and teachers and people around us haven't been taught to communicate, the way that we typically communicate is aggressive. You this, you that, and all of that stuff. And it's not good when we really want to get a point across, especially when the point is coming from a place of love and healthy love. So I went through a lot of lessons when it came to that, with conversations that I was having, and also like speaking and content and stuff like that. So really honing in on my communication in a sense of communicating in a healthy way, in an effective way, in an authentic, relating way, so I can also hear other people, and just continually sharing my truth and not focusing on the haters. which is typically what a lot of people do focus on, especially when they get started in the online space and building your personal brand. It's like, what are people going to think? Meh, meh, meh. But the thing is, we live in a vibrational universe, right? And energy flows where focus goes. So if you're going to focus on the haters, if you're going to focus on the negativity, that's what you're going to get. And I've never focused on that. I've just been like, right, yeah, okay, this is scary, but I know that what I'm going to share is going to support my people. So I'm not going to focus on the haters. Like, I'm just going to do my thing. And there's been lessons along the way, like I said, with communication and all of that stuff. But then that's just simply been a message to me of, okay, I get to learn here. Instead of projecting and saying, oh, you didn't understand me, it's like we communicate, we must communicate so the listener can hear. So we must learn how to communicate so the other person can understand us. So it's not about the way that we communicate, it's about the way that they understand communication. So then that led me down a path. I know I'm going on a tangent. I always tend to do this, but that led me on a path of really learning how to understand other people as well. And it's funny because I mentioned earlier, like in college, in school, it just didn't interest me learning. But starting this journey, I love learning about people and psychology and the way the brain works and the body works and the way that I work. So then when I found ways in which I was toxic, in ways in which I was negatively affecting people because of whatever, it's not that I was meaning to, because I truly live from the heart and I really want to support people and help people. However, you can't help people who don't want to be helped. So first off, it's learning how to, like, okay, well, would you like my reflection on that, rather than going and like vomiting on them. Yeah. But also like learning how to communicate it in a way that lands with them. So like I went down this rabbit hole of just like becoming my best self. And I love learning now because I found a realm and a place where I'm passionate about learning. But I don't give a fuck about maths or science, like, but people, yes. Communication, yes. Building a healthy life, yes. I'm all about that. So yeah, I went down this like rabbit hole of learning and then sharing, and even sharing when I'm scared. Because a lot of what we learn when we're growing and when we become conscious, it's very against the narrative. So when I first started in 2017, the world was still very unconscious, and they're much more open and receptive now to this information about energy and health and water and all of that good stuff. So it's much easier for us to share now. But back then, like it was confronting, because I'm like, I know this, I feel it in my body, it's true, like truth doesn't lie. But sharing it, the fear was there, but I kept doing it because this is my truth, this is my truth, this is my truth. And if you don't vibe on that frequency, that's nothing to do with me and everything to do with where you're at. So then it's learning how to let go of that. It's learning how to not take things personally. And a very good book that I've recently read is called The Four Agreements. So when we're moving into this realm of following our truth and building our confidence, the Four Agreements will definitely support you, as well as feel the fear and do it anyway. But yeah, I just do it. Like, the best way to overcome fears is to just do it, because most of the time it's not as bad as what the stories are happening in our mind are saying.
So true. And it's so interesting to me how many people are so afraid of, public speaking, of sharing their voice, of speaking their truth. And for me personally, I know that the fear comes from being liked. And it's so silly to me because when you think about it, first of all, not everyone's going to like you. And you don't want everyone to like you. I don't like everyone. So that's a silly expectation to begin with. But the thing that I peeled the onion back a little bit on with that relates to some cultures still live this way today. If you think about it, like in India, where they live in sort of communities and tribes, if you will, modern day tribes, or how we lived thousands of years ago when we did live in tribes, people needed to be liked by their community, by the people around them in order to have their basic survival needs met, which are food, shelter, and water. So I think this very deep-seated cultural conditioning comes from there for sure. And it's so actually not irrelevant fear anymore, but it's so ingrained in our DNA from our ancestral trauma and all of this that we just automatically think that it's this life-altering survival thing. And it's like, really, if you share your voice and you're not liked, you're not gonna die. You're gonna be okay. So just go and do it, you know?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And it's the most liberating thing that we can do in my own personal experience, because once we start sharing our voice, you know, we choose ourselves, we choose our voice, we choose our truth. And especially if we're sharing our voice to make a difference in a positive way as to what sets our soul on fire. And we all came to this planet for a reason, and the reason is through our truth and our voice and our messaging. So when we land into that and when we get past that fear of sharing it, like things just become magic. I mean, even now I still get nervous. A few months ago I went on an audio room on Twitter. There was over 450 people live that I didn't know, and I was sharing my truth. I came out and I was nervous, and I've been on my journey for nearly 6 years now, but I was shaking, and as I was talking I had a like I literally like fell over something in my throat, like my throat choked. And it was funny to me because of how far I've come, but then there's still instances where I still get scared. And it's more so like, you know, my social people know me and I show up on my social every day, but then in a room of unknown people, like that fear of like, are people going to judge me, are they going to like me? Because we do want to be liked by everyone, but it's like you said, we don't like everyone. So like, I mean, I say it in the way of like, it's pretty narcissistic to think that everyone's going to like you. So it's just like, come on, you don't like everyone, so don't expect everyone to like you. But as long as they're not being rude or toxic, then it's okay. Like, you can feel the energy of someone if they don't like you, so just don't go near them and don't let it consume you, and go towards people that appreciate and hear you for the beauty and the brilliance that you are, because you are so very beautiful. But it's just an energetic resonance that some people don't vibe and they're not ready for your message, and that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah. And I totally agree and resonate with what you said about our voice. You know, that is why I stepped up to share my voice, even to share this podcast, to express my truth, my message, my wisdom, my magic, and my medicine, because every person holds these codes, this vibration, this frequency that can only really be felt and understood through our voice. It's a specific resonance, and people aren't going to like, love, and trust you and know you on a deep energetic level if they don't hear your voice. It's a certain energetic emittance of energy that people can take in and understand you and feel you. They can feel your heart, feel your story, feel your pain, feel your joy, feel all of it, and either resonate with it because it's on their frequency and their vibration, or not. Either way, but we are so needed to show up in our truth, to share our voice, and to share our unique frequency, because we're the only ones that can do this. Every single person's voice is so different, and it's crazy to me when you think about that, that not one person has the same frequency or sound of their voice. It's absolutely wild. But similarly, just as not every person has a different purpose, passion, dharma, and assignment here on earth as well. So that's why it's so important for each of us to step up and rise into our truth, into this divine assignment right now, so that we can create this new earth where everyone lives in harmony and where we can all reclaim our power and our sovereignty and live in truth and freedom.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of the times people get so caught up in the likes and the engagement and the views and all of that stuff. And like it's happened to me, like this our ego. And it's also the way that we've essentially been trained as well through the way that social media and the algorithm is set up. But really and truly, that doesn't matter. Like, yes, of course, we wish to reach as many people as possible when we are following our Dharma and when we do want to make a difference. However, it like when it comes to us sharing our voice, it's a ripple effect. So whether or not one person listens or 100,000 or 1 million people listen, you know, you could touch the heart of one person who then shares it with another, who then touches the heart of 1 million people. So you could still reach 1 million people, even if not directly, but indirectly by sharing your voice. And this is an important thing to really understand. And you know, we've all come to this planet for different reasons, like you said, and we've all got a different calling within us. And whatever we're feeling within it, like me, and I'm gonna write up about this or share this. It's been in my mind to do. But like from a very young age, like I knew that I'm here to create big things. I just knew, and I didn't consciously know what. And it's only been over the last couple of weeks where it's really landed and anchored into my sense of being, as to the big things that I came here to be, do, and have, essentially. And we've all got a different calling in that sense. Some people don't necessarily want to do really big things, and that's okay. But so long as you're following your truth and what sets your soul on fire, if you choose to only keep it within your friend circle and your community group, you're still making a huge difference, because you're supporting them in coming back to their truth, their full expression, their optimal health, their raising level of consciousness. And you never know, one person that you support, like I said, they may affect millions of people, which is essentially from the touch of you and your own unique energy and essence and frequency. So yeah, the importance of coming back to ourselves and our truths and breaking away from these constructed boxes by society, so we can fit into the wheel and become a cog in the capitalist system and structure. Like, we must break away from this and learn how to, and work out why we came to this planet, in my opinion.
Mm. I'd love for you to share a little bit more quickly, if you want to, about what you were just speaking to, about why you came here to this earth. You said it all kind of aligned for you recently and became more
Oh,
clear.
yeah, for sure. So I'm one of the New Earth leaders supporting people in coming back to their optimal health and their rising in their levels of consciousness, as well as coming back to their power. And I'm doing this in a range of different ways. So I started in the same business model that we're involved in and how we met, through sharing conscious living water and supporting people in breaking free from the system. But through my journey, I guide them back to their power through my teachings, and I've created a range of different like platforms that people can get involved in. So yeah, I said, and especially as a reflector and a 5-1 reflector that just sees things and like becomes, you know, gets really enthralled in learning stuff. But I'm really, really good at illuminating people's power and seeing in them what gets to be seen, so they can move towards their highest good. And fundamentally, we're all the same. We're all humans, right? We're souls having a human experience. And so long as, and there's different ways in which we choose to resonate, to work through our journey, our healing journey, our growth journey, but fundamentally we're all the same. So it's really learning how to master our mind, connect to our body, and ultimately connect to our heart and listen to our intuitive guidance. And having the space to be able to do that through breaking away from the system is a really powerful thing. So yeah, creating the new earth, this is what I came here to be. And like, yeah, I'm excited.
Oh, it's so exciting. Yeah, so many people are in this space of despair and worry and fear and all of that, and which is valid. You know, there's both polarities, but it's so interesting to me to talk with those people, because for me it just feels energetically so positive, like we are going in the right direction, that we are reaching towards this collective consciousness awakening, and where even the people that aren't necessarily conscious right now are going to be up leveled. by the collective. I don't know if you have anything else to say on that as far as the new earth goes, or how you think that's going to unveil going forward.
So we've been going through so many shifts on the planet, and the Earth's resonance has raised a lot of recent. So if you like scientifically, if you look at the resonance, it was at 7 point something, and it's recently raised to 11 point something. So a huge shift. So the Earth's resonance via vibration and frequency affects us naturally. So this is supporting us in our level of frequency and consciousness. And we've recently gone through a shift in respects to remembering and coming back to the remembrance. Literally, it was between May 18th to May 28th. And that was actually the period in which landed for me in respects to the role that I get to play right now as a New Earth leader. So we're really coming back into that. And before 2020, we were at the master timeline around the end of 2019, 2020. We were at the master timeline, but something happened to really drop us way low. So we dropped a lot. And this is why we experienced what we experienced as a collective, and like being like spinning out like individually, like, oh my God, like we didn't know where we were going, what we were doing. Some people were stagnant, some people felt lost. Whereas before they were like, yeah, like I know I certainly experienced it. But now we're shifting. We've been growing and shifting back to the master timeline, that we're like really at that precipice right now. And from about mid-June is when we're starting to really kind of shift into it. I'm not an expert. This is like the work that my good friend and sister is doing, and she's sharing this with me. So as we move into this master timeline, this is when we're going to start to experience more of a 4D level of consciousness. So we're coming out of our minds much more and coming into the body. So I know I've personally been feeling this myself. I've been feeling more in my body, and like I feel the energy going around, and literally feels like glitter is all around my body. I'm feeling all of that. And people are going to start to feel this a lot more, because we're not our mind, we're not even our body, but we've been trained to only navigate through this physical reality with our mind, and this is why we're so disconnected. So we're starting to really come back to our bodies and the body's guidance, which is essentially going to further allow us to move towards the new earth because of the intuitive guidance that's within us and connecting to our soul. So this is happening on a collective level, and also with Pluto was just in Aquarius. It's come back out and it's gone back into Capricorn, but it gave us a glimpse as to what's to come. So Pluto goes into Aquarius next year in 2024, and it's in Aquarius for the 20 years after. So we're really coming into the age of Aquarius with that. And the collective have one of two choices. They can either choose to stay in their ego and essentially fall into the despair of their ego that tends to happen, or they can choose to do the work and land into the heart, which is essentially moving towards the new earth and creating your own sense of heaven on earth. Because whatever we've been taught in religion is like, religion is simply a way to disconnect us from the truth of the fact of the matter that God is within us, heaven is within us, hell is within us, and we get to choose. We get to choose to harness the power of God consciousness that's within us. And we get to choose to either create our own heaven on earth or our own hell on earth. And when we follow and fall into the trap of the egoic mind, and when we don't learn how to master that, that's when we create our hell on earth. So doing the work and the healing and the raising vibration and levels of consciousness is where we're able to create our own sense of heaven on earth. And over the next 20 years is really what's going to be happening with the collective, with Pluto in Aquarius, because the age of Aquarius is all about community, unity, like connection, the raising the level of consciousness when we learn how to land into our heart. But when we don't, then it's not really going to be good. It's like suffering and all of that stuff. So yeah, that's essentially what's happening for us right now and for the next 20 years. It's fun.
Amazing. It's so exciting. Definitely the age of Aquarius is you can feel the energy shifting out from Pisces and the Kali Yuga. I don't know if you know about yugas, but the Kali Yuga was the one before. And the Kali Yuga was all about the deity Kali, who is the deity of destruction, of the remover of obstacles and really removing ego and
Yeah.
destroying and burning everything down to the ashes for rebirth. And we're actually entering into a new yuga cycle, which is called the Satya Yuga, which means truth in Sanskrit. So very exciting.
Yeah, yeah, it's really exciting. And like there are people that, because they're feeding into the fear consciousness that the powers that be have used to control us over the years, because they're still feeding into that, they're not necessarily hopeful for the future. But the important thing is to be very aware of what we're consuming and the
Mm.
energies that we're taking in every way. And once we unplug from the mainstream narrative, and once we start doing our own individual research, and once we choose to start surrounding ourselves with people that are doing the work and raising their levels of consciousness and supporting others and all of that stuff, you can really see that there are people on the forefront that are here to create a better future. And another way in which we're able to create a new earth together is being very mindful in the way that we are directing our energy, for one, but also where we are putting our money. So typically we've been spending our money very unconsciously on all of these big companies that are just destroying the planet. So it's really important that we're very aware with where we're putting our money, because that's where the true vote is. Like the vote of the governments in whatever country, I don't care what country you're from in respects to like your paper vote, but whatever paper vote you have, it doesn't matter, because all governments are controlled by one force. Like it's just hiding behind the fact that we have choice when we don't. The only choice that we do have is with our money, and this is why they're trying to take so much more control over our financial system right now. So it's really important that we take ownership back of that, and that we put our money in the right places as well.
Love that. I'd love to ask you one more question before we end, and that is, how would you advise the listeners to live fully now or live in their fullest expression?
Being true to you, and you become true to yourself by being present with yourself and really asking yourself the right questions as to what it is that you want, and eliminating any other distractions or voices of other people's idea of success and other people's idea of the right way to go, because success is subjective, and the success that we've been told is right through our society and our culture, that's to ensure that the capitalist system is successful. But then what's success to you? And then if you're saying, well, I want to be happy, I want to be healthy, I want to be wealthy, okay, well, what does that mean? Because again, that's subjective to the person. So my happiness will look completely different to yours, would look completely different to Shannon's, would look completely different to Tom down the road, and the same with health and the same with wealth. So it's really understanding, like, who do you want to be? What do you want to have in your life? And what do you want to create? And once you have that true understanding through asking yourself the right questions, and through being with yourself and building a strong and deep and connective relationship with yourself by learning how to open your heart and shining the light on your darkness to find the color, that's when you can truly land into living fully and being your fully expressed self with no apologies and pushing past that fear.
Amazing. So tell the listeners how they can connect with you, maybe share some of your offerings that you have available right now.
Social media, I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. I also have a podcast that's available on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube again. It's called Navigating Towards the New Earth. I'll give you a link, Shannon, that you can put in the show notes, my link tree, and it's got everything on there. It's got all of my socials, it's got all of my offerings. I've got free offerings, and you can join me in online business if you wish to break free from the system. I also have pre-recorded teachings. Embrace is a soul journey, so you go on this really deep soul journey to really land into yourself, past, present, and future. And I also have an evolutionary and transformative platform with over 60 teachings that are continually added to as I deepen into my journey. So that's a rolling membership. And I also have a global community of people that are doing the work internally to create a better future. So no matter where you're at in your journey and what you're seeking support with, I have options available, as well as finances too, because I understand, like, finances, I started from rock bottom. So I really want to give people the space to be able to join my world in the best way that they can.
Mm.
Eric wants to say hi and bye, by the
He's
way.
saying hi. I'm saying hi to him via the microphone.
Love it.
Oh, amazing. Thank you so much. It's been such an honor to have you on the podcast today. Have a beautiful rest of your day and enjoy the sun of Bali, and give Eric a hug for me.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank
You.
you.
Love you.